Hello lovies, welcome back to my channel. I'm Gina, aka Gina Louise. So I saw this really cool denim jacket. I know I've done denim jackets on here before, but this one was so cool I wanted this jacket. So this is the jacket from one of my favorite clothing brands, and I had in mind that I'm gonna go thrifting, I'm gonna go find a denim jacket, and I'm gonna go find a granny square blanket. I don't know what the chances were of me finding that in one day, but I was lucked out. The first thrift store I went to, I found this, the Loft denim jacket. It's in my size, so I was super excited about that. I then found, oops, I dropped it. I found this granny square tiny blanket. It's small, but it's perfect. I can make sleeves out of it. And because it has these cool colors in it, I thought, wouldn't this be so cool if I took the jacket and I dyed it fuchsia? So I ran into Michael's. I got a bottle of Rit fuchsia dye. I'm going to dye this. And I'm also going to dye a pair of jeans, since I'm going to go through the whole dyeing process and make a mess anyway in my kitchen. I figured I'm going to take a pair of jeans. I'm going to cut them into shorts. I'm going to make some Daisy Dukes to match. Okay, let's get started. So here is my denim jacket. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut the sleeves off. The seam at the top of the sleeves, we're going to leave that. We're going to cut in front of that seam and leave that for stability in the jacket. Now we're going to take the sleeve, we're going to cut it open, and we're going to use it as a pattern. We're going to cut the cuff off. It makes it easier to work with. Now I was just placing the sleeve pattern on my granny square blanket and trying to figure out which is the best way to place it, because I have a very small blanket here and I wanted to make sure I got two sleeves and that I got the prettiest parts of the granny squares. So this scalloped edge is very pretty. I'm going to use that for the end of my sleeve. I'm using the cuff so that I have the allowance of the cuff, because this jacket fit me perfect on the sleeves and I want to make sure it's the same size. So now I take the sleeve pattern, I place it where I want it, and I pin it down, and I'm going to just cut it out. So remember, I cut the cuff off, so you have to make the leave the allowance of the length there. So I just placed it there. The reason why I cut the cuff off is because I make bracelets out of them. I will definitely use that piece later on, and it was just easier to cut. Now that you've cut the blanket, you don't want it to fall apart on you. So what I do is I take my fabric fix glue or Fabri-Tac, whichever one you're using, and I put a line of it on all the edges that are cut. I'll rub it a little bit with my finger to make sure it gets in there, and this way it doesn't fray on you. Now that my glue is drying, I'm going to dye my jacket. So I'm going to take some regular table salt, a cup of that, and I'm going to take my fuchsia Rit dye and I'm going to put it in a pot of boiling water on my stove. And don't forget to use your rubber gloves, because this stuff will stain your hands. Add your cup of salt, stir it around, then add your Rit dye to the color that you desire, and make sure you stir that around good as well. So add your denim jacket and make sure you keep stirring it around. Normally around 20 minutes it will take. I wanted it a little deeper, so I believe I left it in a half an hour. You should keep stirring it so that it dyes evenly. I didn't stir it that much, so my dye is not completely even, but I kind of wanted that look because it looks a little distressed because some of the denim blue comes through and the fuchsia, but I do love the way it came out. So here is the color I have. I love it so much, and it just matches so good with the granny squares. I just think it is such a great color combination. Now we're going to add our sleeves. The glue that we use to keep it from fraying is dry, and all I'm doing with this is because I use the edge of the blanket and I have this rim, it's a little bit easier for me to do this than if there was frayed edges on both sides. So because I have that pretty edge, I've decided that I'm just going to run a nice thick line of glue, double line, and I am going to just fold over the edge, the finished edge, onto the unfinished edge, and I'm going to clip it with some Dollar Tree clips I have and some clothespins, and I'm going to hold it in place until it's completely dry. As you can see, I use wax paper in between. I forgot to mention it earlier, to keep the sleeve from gluing it closed. I'm going to ask you to support my channel, and if you're enjoying this video, please give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more of these videos, please consider subscribing to my channel. So that you don't get the glue on your fingers, always use wax paper when you're pressing down on it, especially when you're using lace or something like this crocheted blanket, because the glue is going to come through, and I cannot stand the way it feels on my fingers, so I always use the wax paper because it doesn't stick. Now I'm just finishing up my second sleeve. Obviously you do the same thing to the other sleeve. So here is where I added the clips. I had clothespins and I had those Dollar Tree clamps, which work great, the little pink ones. And after I put the glue down the sides, I just clipped. Just make sure you have wax paper stuffed in the very corner of where the seam is going to be, because it will dry funky if it glues to both sides. If both sides get glued together, it's going to be a hard piece. So you don't want that. Stuff that wax paper in good. This glue holds pretty fast, but I let the sleeves dry for a good hour before I remove the clips. And now we're going to attach the sleeves to the jacket. Now you're going to remove the wax paper from both sleeves because we're going to add them. The way I added the sleeve was I took the right sides of the granny square blanket and I pushed it into the opening of the sleeve. I lined up the top and the bottom seam and I put a very thick row of glue. I zigzagged the glue at the edge of the granny squares, as you can see here, and I did a little section at a time so that I can make sure the jacket laid nice. So first I glued the seam to the seam at the very top, and then I worked my way around in small sections, an inch or two, and then I would hold it in place until I met the bottom seam. The blanket is very user-friendly, so make sure that you have the jacket smooth. Keep pulling or stretching the granny squares if you need to get it in place. And this came out beautiful, and here are the final results. Thanks for watching.